A grin pulled at Dane's mouth. It was a Clark Gable kind of grin, all charm and menace. Another gift of his birth and breeding. Maybe. Why do you care? Lulu looked him dead in the eye. That was her first mistake. Dane had beautiful eyes. They were brown, with flecks of green in them, dusted with thick lashes. Lulu gripped the wall behind her, a spin overtaking her head. It was all the alcohol she had drunk. Alcohol spins, not beautiful, terrible boy spins. Dane closed the gap between their bodies to next to nothing. Lulu, God help her, flattened her back against the wall. Dane had never been unaware of the effect he had on women. Lulu had never been unaware of the effect Dane had on her. In that, at least, they were equals. Why don't you like me, Lulu? Even slurring slightly, he sounded like he had 1,000 years of good old boys behind him, like he could carry 1,000 more after him. There had been 4 generations in his line. He, after all, was only Daniel Dodge Anderson IV. But his voice bore the weight of a never-ending, never-broken string of gentlemen. A voice of infinity. Why can't we be friendly? You know why, Lulu gritted her teeth. Dane's expression stretched into a full-blown Cheshire cat grin. The world tilted on its axis slightly. Lulu could have had a crush on him for 3 weeks straight if she'd wanted, at the mere flash of this smile. In fact, at some point in her freshman year, she had, and that was 2 years ago. Lulu willed her breath even and buried that feeling away as deeply as she could. Lulu didn't think about freshman year, if she could help it. Explain it again. His breath fanned across her cheek as he leaned in. Lulu's mouth fell open, ever so slightly. Why couldn't nice boys smell like peppermint and gin? Lulu offered up a silent prayer to whoever watched over the dignity of girls like her. Soft, cold lips whispered against hers when a series of repetitive thunks echoed up the stairs. Dane looked up, toward the sound. Lulu didn't think. She simply took advantage and ducked under his arm. She fled toward the stairs. Unfortunately, Lulu hardly looked up as she ran away from Dane. She smacked right into a tall, lanky boy, more limbs than anything else. Limbs she fell into, like some horrible moment in a rom-com. She disentangled herself with much more effort than it should have taken. Lulu clenched her hand into a fist. The boy raised his arms as if to say, "Whoa, lady, not my fault." Fine, not his fault. Nobody's fault but her own. She relaxed her hand. The boy nodded like he appreciated the restraint. Lulu leaped down the steps, 2 at a time, toward the safety of the ground floor, toward people, toward Audrey, and whatever lecture was in store from that quarter. From above, Lulu heard the boys' subdued voices. She didn't stop moving until the sound was a distant memory, until the cacophony of the kitchen swallowed her up. In hindsight, Lulu ought to have fixed her shirt before looking for Audrey. Audrey Bachman took in Lulu's state of undress, and in less than half a second had pulled Lulu out of the kitchen and into a quieter, less populated room. Audrey might have been holding a red Solo cup, but her white and pink floral sundress was still spotless and unrumpled. Her face was flush. She must have only been half a drink into her evening, but her fair hair was still smooth and neat. Hold this. Audrey handed Lulu her drink cup. She pinched a lock of Lulu's hair between her fingers, then dropped it with a sigh. Audrey fussed over the buttons on Lulu's shirt, unbuttoning, then smoothing as she rebuttoned. Lulu swatted away Audrey's hands. One mother was enough. Aren't you going to let me lend a hand at all? Audrey's voice was more of a screech and less of a question. The wild hammering in Lulu's heart had faded to nothing. Her head swam. Relief hollowed Lulu out, leaving her dizzy. Behind her was an inevitability she'd